Do you think eating your own skin is art? And would you trade in your real guns for paintball guns? All that and much more coming up on Current Events. Alright, this first one takes us to Latvia. That's somewhere in Europe, I'm not sure where. But there's a poetic artist, is what he calls himself, who's been branded online as the Freak, and for good reason. So he decided to do this poetic video live on Facebook. He's in this white garb, this suit with a mask on, with a scalpel, took skin from people, cuts a portion of their back out, like a little chunk, fries it up in a skillet, and then feeds it back to them, just like Hannibal. And there was a woman involved. I thought two crazy dudes would be involved, but no, there's some hot chick sitting there letting him do this. The whole reasoning behind this shenanigan is we are consumers and we will consume ourselves. And if the world goes to shit, we're gonna end up eating each other. We're gonna be cannibals. That's kind of what I got out of the story. I mean, I would ask him, look, do you think you accomplished your goal of making people think, hey, look at the bigger picture. You're going to have to consume yourself if you keep going the way you're going, or whatever in the hell he's trying to prove. I believe everybody would say, hell no, all I saw is some weird dude feeding people their own meat. That's weird. Okay, this one takes us to Cleveland, Ohio, where a man has got out of prison, where he served 30 months plus time served for robbing a bank. And what's the first thing this man does since he's now got his freedom back? He goes back to that same bank that he robbed and he tries to rob it again. And he was arrested for robbing the same bank that he was in jail for. So that leads me to one conclusion. He spent the entire 30 months that he was in jail for robbing this bank figuring out where he fucked up the last time. I mean, I can just see the guy. He's got maps on toilet paper in the floor of his jail cell going, well, hell, I done this right, and I hit these buttons, and I held the gun here. How the hell did I get caught? And then finally, he's like, oh, that's where I messed up. I'll get that as soon as I get out. Well, it didn't work. And now he's back in jail. And I got a feeling he's one of these third time's the charm type guys. And when he gets out, that bank's gonna be ready. Okay, this one takes us to Milwaukee, where there's been an upsurge in paintball attacks. Police suspect that the sudden rise of paintball shootings was caused by 21 Savage, the popular Atlanta rapper, who called for all the people to put down real guns and pick up paintball guns. I mean, honestly, I'm like, hey, yeah, not a bad idea. I mean, I'm not gonna put down my guns for paintball guns, but if you're out shooting like gang violence or some shit like that, yeah, get you some paintball guns if you want to do some drive-bys. But somehow, a 19-year-old girl was killed in the crossfire of a paintball war. So far, there's been like 65 people shot randomly with paintballs. I'm really mixed on this because, look, the good thing is these guys that are shooting people with paintball guns, they're not shooting people with real guns. Yeah, they hurt like hell. Nobody wants to get shot with one. If I was to get randomly shot with a paintball, I'm probably going to pull out my pistol and shoot back with a real gun. If everybody would play with paintball guns, it would be okay, but that's the problem. What's going to happen is somebody's going to get shot standing in the damn driveway, drinking a beer, grilling some steaks, and they're going to pull out a Glock, and they're going to empty that son of a bitch into a car full of kids, and that's going to end the paintball wars. That's how it happens, then everybody goes back to guns. So I think 21 Savage had good intentions. But as we always do, we take it one step too far. So this one right here takes us to Massachusetts, where there's a man who thinks he's a genius, but turns out he's just a dumbass. He decides to rob a Walmart. Not like blazing guns rob it, but, you know, go in and steal some shit. And what his plan was, and how it was gonna work, was just cover up those anti-theft devices, the ones that beep when you walk through with something in your pocket. And he decides to use Play-Doh. So he goes through his Play-Doh covered anti-theft device, and he would have got away with it. But there's only one small problem, and apparently this guy did not have kids, or he did never play with Play-Doh, because Play-Doh picks up one hell of a fingerprint. I mean, it has fingerprints all over it. That's the hardest thing. If you're trying to make something really nice out of Play-Doh, it's hard as hell to get the little fingerprint grooves out of it. So obviously they caught this guy very, very quick. All the Play-Doh he'd covered the anti-theft devices with had his fingerprints all in it. I mean, I don't understand some of these criminals. I've watched plenty of shows to understand, and I think common sense does tell me, hey, if I'm gonna steal something, wear gloves. I'm not trying to give you advice. Nobody go try this, but if you're gonna commit a crime, I think it would be very wise to put on some gloves. At the very least, put on some gloves. But no, now he's in jail, and he's on Uncurrent Events. Okay, this one takes us out to the great state of California, where a man makes an attempt to do something heroic. In his mind, he thought he was about to save the governor's life because he was a little fucked up on meth, and he was seeing cougars and lions and other wild beasts in the streets and decided, hey, I need to go to the governor's house and tell him to get his armed guards because they have big guns. That's a quote. Being the heroic man he is in his head, all geeked out on meth, goes to the governor's house, and somehow this man's able to walk right into the governor's mansion. He actually tells authorities, I walked into the house and I hollered, Jerry! Jerry! And nobody responded. He said there was nobody around, and there wasn't. That's another question. Where was the security? But let's just move on. So he goes outside looking for somebody to help him, and finally the cops show up and they arrest the man. This guy's not James Bond. He's not somebody slipping through the cracks under the infrared lasers. He's homeless high on meth, and he walks into the foyer of the governor's mansion and starts hollering, Jerry! Looking for some big guns to kill all the wild animals in the streets. But I think he may be a little bit smarter than the governor of California. Take note, Californians, if you want to go tell Jerry Brown something, apparently he's got an open door policy at his house. Well, if we learned anything this week, is if you're going to commit a crime, you probably need to wear a pair of gloves. And if at first you don't succeed, probably don't try again. I'm Alabama Boss with Rated Red. Y'all have a good one.